If you've ever wondered how investing works, this video is for you. Now in this example, we're going to start at the bottom with a BHP share. Now it could be any other type of investment though. It could be Apple shares in the US, it could be a direct property, it could even be fixed interest and bond products. But in this example, a BHP share. Now you can either own a BHP share directly by purchasing it through the stock market, or a BHP share could be part of an ETF, an exchange traded fund, or part of a managed fund. Now what is an ETF? An ETF is simply a managed fund that is sold on the stock market. And what is a managed fund? Well, a managed fund is a collection of underlying investments inside a fund. So essentially it's pooling the assets together. Now a fund can be purchased on an investment platform or directly through the fund manager. Now for each of those different options, an ETF and a fund, often they're in one of two camps. They're either an index fund or an active fund. So let's talk about the difference between an index and an active fund. Now in an index fund, if BHP makes up 10% of the Australian share market, then an index fund will own pretty much exactly 10% in BHP shares. So it's invested proportionately to how much things are worth on the individual market. With an active fund, you have professional fund managers who either decide to have BHP in or out of the fund depending on what they think the prospects are like for the company going forward. So therefore an index fund is often relatively cheap because it doesn't involve people and a lot of extra work individually selecting the investments. Whereas an active fund manager often has many more teams of people and a lot more costs, and therefore it's often a lot higher in cost. Now, comparing which one performs better, it often depends on the specific sector that investment is invested in. There is a lot of research out there that does say that index funds often do outperform active fund managers net of the active fund fees over the long term, but you can find active fund managers who have outperformed the index over long durations as well. So it really is a case-by-case basis. Lastly, you then need to work out the ownership structure for the investments. So you could have an index fund owned personally, you could have an active fund owned personally, you could have both owned in super, or both owned in a range of different other investment structures such as family trusts, in companies, in investment bonds, and a range of other investments. So for most people that have, for instance, industry super funds, what that'll be made up of is largely a mix of often index and active managed funds inside of them. They could potentially, if the super fund's large enough, take direct positions in different companies as well, which they quite often do. But you can see here, stepping down the tree, you can see how a specific investment can then go through the different phases to then reach its final investment structure.